Hello and welcome to One Man's Opinion. Today I am reviewing the new musical Ask for the Moon with book and lyrics by Darko Tresnjak, music by Oren Eldor, directed by Darko, choreographed by Karla, Puno, Garcia, and running through August 11th at the Terrace Theater at 33 North Main Street in Chester, Connecticut. Voyage now over to my Patreon page where you can, for as little as $1 a month, support this show and my classic cinema podcast, Yesterday's Matinee. There you can also find features on restaurants and retro reviews from when I was a critic for print media. Most recently, I have posted my notorious review of Beetlejuice and my Yesterday's Matinee episode of The Big Chill. So become a patron to have full access to all that content. A link will be in the description. I've been wondering what Tony Award-winning director Darko Tresnjak had been up to since the pandemic. Before it, he was slated to direct a production of Leonard Bernstein's Candide at Goodspeed, but that has been apparently put on some form of hold, if not scrapped entirely. Frankly, I'd love to see Darko's take on Candide and hope he gets to bring it here to Connecticut or to New York soon. But here we are with something completely different with Ask for the Moon, a little absurdly comic musical spotlighting Darko's devilish wit and a score by Eldor that mixes an obvious nod to Gilbert and Sullivan with the classic music halls of England of the early 20th century with a dash of modern influence. I noticed a not-so-subtle touch of Van Morrison in the score myself. The score plays to the darkly comic narrative of the musical. Set in what is described as recent-ish, Ask for the Moon follows Helen Huber, the widow of her recently deceased Nazi husband. She stands to inherit millions of dollars from his death, but unfortunately he never divorced from his first wife, Mitzi, represented by a bloated, rotting, giant old puppet breathing on oxygen tanks. When her husband's healthcare assistant, Charlotte St. Clair, played by Ali Ewoldt, admits to having killed Herr Huber, Helen concocts a plan involving a slight bit of blackmail and bribery along the way to have Charlotte help her kill Mitzi while on a cruise ship that Mitzi's traveling on, so she can save her inheritance. It should be noted that Helen herself isn't a Nazi or a Nazi sympathizer, but a narcissistic opportunist, not afraid to take advantage of marrying a Nazi to take advantage of his wealth. It's a fine line that Darko and Eldor walk to make sure the audience isn't rooting for a Nazi throughout the show. Part of the appeal to the audience to go along with this plan is the fact that Mitzi is a Nazi and or Nazi sympathizer, so in some shape or form it's okay that we're on this ride with them. Finishing the cast of three is Jameson Stern, who plays a variety of male roles, including Herr Huber's lawyer Schroeder Studebaker, Helen's stylist Persimmons Delvol, and Misha and Grisha, warring identical twin brothers who play piano on different decks of the cruise ship. Technically, there's a fourth cast member, Alex Dreshka, who handles puppetry and body doubling. It all adds up to a collection of absurd situations and gags, from a landline phone that has a cell phone ring, a belching piranha, a death scene that reaches Paul Rubens's death in the movie Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and the Black Knight scene in Monty Python and the Holy Grail levels of absurd. It's all tongue-in-cheek and rousingly hilarious dark comedy, and if you're willing to hop on the ride, it'll be a good time. This is a production that is still in development, and there are one or two weak points. Even though it is only about 2 hours, it is a touch long. I think it would fit better if it was condensed into about a 90-minute one-act. The biggest culprit is the overlong The Skanky Merengue number, a lounge song that Misha and Charlotte sing with a reprise sung by Grisha. It gives some character development for Misha and Grisha and their conflict, but it overstays its welcome. Other songs, though, like the Act 1 finale, A Piece of Cake, is delightfully silly in the classic Gilbert and Sullivan style. The title song, Ask for the Moon, is a hummable tune to take home, and the Peekaboo Polka is a horrifically hilarious and guffawingly grotesque piece as Studebaker celebrates his nearly necrophiliac love for Mitzi. The cast is all in on the absurdity of the piece, and their commitment is commendable. Luba Mason is properly malevolent as the proud Helene. Ali Ewoldt carries a wide-eyed sweetness that masks Charlotte's own devilish qualities, and Jameson Stern is a chameleon as he bounces from role to role. The Terrace Theater is a small stage, and Alexander Dodge has to cram as much detail as possible into the little space. There are only 3 different sets, but it's a lot for the stage and will probably benefit from a little more breathing room if the show moves to a larger theater from here. Philip Rosenberg's lighting helps in addressing one transition, moving from one ship's lounge to the next, and when an unexpected cataclysm happens, the show depends on the lighting and Jay Hilton's sound design to optimize the drama. Jen Caprio's costume design, especially for Helen and Charlotte, is magnificent as well. Goodspeed usually invites its critics to review their workshop productions like Ask for the Moon late in the run, presumably so they can get as many kinks out of the show as possible before we review it, as it is still in development. So there are only a couple performances left of the show before it closes. But if you do have some time in the next couple days to see Ask for the Moon, you'll have an enjoyable time. It's silly, absurd, and sometimes outlandish humor. If that's your kind of thing, you'll love Ask for the Moon. I hope the show continues to develop and move on to other theaters. Does it have a potential life in New York? At the moment, I think it can have a successful run at an off-Broadway house like one of New World Stages' spaces or Minetta Lane Theater. I hope it does continue to run elsewhere. It's a darkly hilarious show and worth investing in. But I'm only one man's opinion, so be sure to leave yours in the comments below. If you'd like to see Ask for the Moon, I'll leave a link in the description where you can get tickets. Also in the description will be a link to my Patreon page where you can support my work. You can also support me by liking, sharing, and subscribing, and click the notification bell to be alerted to future reviews. My next review will be Ireton Playhouse's production of Escape to Margaritaville. Thank you for watching, and I will see you at the theater.